Hey, Peter.
Oh, yeah.
It's about to pop off here. It's not going to be rough. It's not going to be difficult or hard or jagged. It's going to be pretty smooth today.
I only got one thing to say.
What do you got?
If loving smooth jazz is wrong, then I don't want to be right.
I'm Adam Manis.
I'm Peter Martin.
You're listening to the You'll Hear It podcast.
Music, smooth music coming at you. Wait, come on, bring it back up. You're killing my vibe.
Sorry, he's in a vibe now.
What? It's a great record. Come on.
I mean, it's what more do you want, man? It's 75 degrees outside right now. Why are we should be doing this podcast.
We're sitting at the park. You got a little rosé, maybe a little white Zinfandel in your hand. What's that? Nothing
Caleb,
wrong with that.
Can we do this podcast from a 1997 Chrysler Sebring? That would be amazing.
With the top down, sitting outside, but with the ignition on.
Ignition on, yeah.
Air conditioning blowing.
Just breezing.
We're breezing.
Yeah.
You ain't worried about the climate. Come on, man. We're eating food. We're throwing the trash out into the street.
This is this for 20 minutes.
GB, the great George Benson is in the house today.
Underrated somehow. I mean, he's so famous.
Is he underrated?
Well, we don't talk about him a lot.
We don't talk about him enough here. George Benson, a genius of the guitar, and I think a great entree. We kind of answered our own question. What are we calling this today?
Well,
have we come up with that?
Is it wrong to like smooth jazz? Obviously not.
Can you tell where we stand, or at least I stand?
Yeah.
But this will be fun because I think we want to do a little bit of splaining in terms of what is smooth jazz. And I mean, it's not for us to say, but it's not for anyone to say.
You know how much I love labels. Yeah. Especially labeling music. No, there's really no such thing. I mean, obviously, it's like, you know, when you hear it kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But it's such a wide tent, all of this music. And I think sometimes people, especially jazz snobs like us.
Jazz police, jazz snobs, jazz elitists.
Look down their nose at some...
I'm not checking my phone, by the way. I know sometimes people... Oh, a video of mine. Sorry.
That sounds like you're watching your own videos.
No, I wanted to get to my list because my computer here, the power went out, so I'm going to come check over here. But yeah, no, jazz snobbery. I mean, it doesn't get any more snobbish than when we assault what is smooth jazz. In fact, it's such a third rail, it's not often even spoken about.
That's
right?
true. Yeah.
It's considered so beneath us. But this is the thing. I don't consider smooth jazz. I've actually participated. I'm going to tell you this. You know what?
Okay.
I'm 52 years old now.
Go for it.
Okay, so I can say what I want.
Yeah.
I can admit what I want.
Yeah.
Please don't strike me down.
I'm not going to strike you down.
I have participated in a performance capacity in the Smooth Jazz Cruise several times.
In the Smooth Jazz Cruise? Is this with
I've
Bodie?
cruised let's not name names.
Okay.
I'm not that old yet. I'm not prepared to admit that. No, I played with several artists.
Yeah.
Great artists on the
I bet
Smooth
that's
Jazz
a fun cruise.
It's fun. So there's several jazz cruises, and there's like the regular jazz cruise, the balloon. I mean, I've done different ones over the years, but they're fun because the people that are coming are passionate about the music and the artists that are going to be there. There's no like surprises in terms of you see what the lineup. It's like going to a festival. It's just like a smooth jazz festival at sea. So there used to be more smooth jazz festivals. That format kind of fell apart a little bit in terms of how they promoted it. It feels like it did since the early 2000s.
There were a lot
like with
more.
CD 101 with that format and everything.
Yeah.
But I think today would be fun, like if we just kind of throw out there what our opinions, full disclosure, this is not a scientifically studied thing. This is just our opinions.
Well,
right?
I mean, we're just going to be playing our favorite smooth jazz songs, aren't we?
Right.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to do the plan because, like I said, I don't have that capacity over here. But what I do have the capacity to is to talk about the origins of smooth jazz.
Well, what do you think considered to be the first smooth jazz album? Because I've just played mine, which is George Benson's Breezin'.
Oh, you came strong.
It's 1976. So it was a little late, I think, because you brought up an interesting point when we were talking about this episode about what is smooth jazz.
Yeah.
And you said, well, isn't really Bossa Nova in the 60s
yes
has a very similar feel to smooth jazz might, because it's got just a really steady beat, right?
Yeah.
It's super easy to listen to.
Right.
Very singable melodies. I mean, that's all good music, but there is something kind of smoother about it than maybe, John Coltrane Quartet playing My Favorite Things,
Right.
surely.
Right, right.
So
So it would be like I hate to make it this unscientific and this arbitrary, but it really is a little bit like, could you see yourself in the summer outside enjoying this at the park with a little bit of White Zinfandel? It's not the
why is it always White Zinfandel?
Because White Zinfandel is like, this might be a little before
It's never
your
a
time.
Sauvignon Blanc.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like it might have its like the grape might be Sauvignon Blanc, but it's a white. Oh no, that would be a different grape actually. No, but it's like it's a little bit cheap and cheesy, depending on how you look at it. But there's
often cheese with it.
There's often cheese, but when the weather's right, there's nothing better. There's this wine that I usually don't like a lot called Vino Verde.
Oh, I love a Vino Verde.
You love a Vino Verde,
yeah.
but I had it one. I never really liked it. It always tasted cheap.
You gotta
and
have
cheesy.
it in Italy.
I had it in Portugal, which is where it's from.
That's what I meant. You have to have it in
but
where it's
with
from,
some
in
fish,
northern Spain.
like by the water. It's like in the right situation, it becomes great.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what smooth jazz is. I mean, but something like Breeze It, you're kind of cheating a little bit because this is just a great record with incredible playing, great arrangements. Benson just killing it.
Let me ask you something.
What?
What do you know about Bob James? What do you know about touchdowns?
Oh yeah, come on. So the intersection of jazz, smoothness, Fender Rhodes, and 70s dramas.
Come on.
Network
Come
dramas,
on.
man. Yeah, this is definitely smooth jazz. But I'm going to go one step before.
Okay.
You asked the question, what do I consider the
what do you
first?
got?
So, yeah, for sure, I would say some Bossa Nova stuff, and certainly like Sergio Mendes and stuff going along. But I'm going to go back to a little record you probably haven't heard of. Put yourself in 1959.
Oh, wow.
A little record by a gentleman named Miles Davis called Kind of Blue.
Oh, so interesting. So you're going to consider this.
I consider that the very first smooth jazz record.
What? So you're thinking you got, what would you say, Chardonnay?
White Zinfandel.
White Zinfandel.
Yeah.
You're outside.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful spring day.
Yeah. I would enjoy this.
There's salty sea air.
There's sea air coming off of, maybe we're in Long Beach, California. That's a big smooth jazz epicenter.
Interesting.
Now,
This is the precursor. is what you're
it's
saying.
interesting you played this little 1 minute segment introduction to So What is the least smooth jazz of this record. So I'm having a little now here we are. Come on, man. We're sipping. We got plastic. We might even have a solo cup. That's okay. The Gruyere.
Yeah.
Maybe even a little Wisconsin cheddar.
Oh, yeah.
No, but I think that this was the first record possibly that was just about a vibe and a groove. And you might be like, well, there's no backbeat. To me, backbeat is not the only thing that makes something smooth jazz. You know what I mean?
It's a vibe.
It's more of like music for the people. It's less inward looking. It's less like about the musicians, and it's certainly about the artistry, but on more of like a macro level.
There seems to be more of a blurred line, not between straight ahead. I hear what you're saying with that, but there seems to be more of a blurred line between like fusion or funk, and smooth jazz, right?
Yeah.
So like,
but I don't think that all great funk records are smooth jazz. Like
No,
for
not at
instance,
all.
the Meters.
yeah, Meters
That's
are
like
not smooth
strong
jazz.
funk, New Orleans, but
no,
I don't think
Parliament's
they did.
not smooth jazz.
Yeah.
at
Now there
all.
might have been a couple of tracks that the Meters did that got into smooth jazz category, but that's not like your prototypical smooth jazz.
Jazz is
group.
more adult. It's more like grown-ups with jobs.
Yeah, grown folks music.
Yeah.
But ones that don't necessarily want to be like so engaged with the artistry and lineage of the music in a way. It's a more casual kind of thing. And I don't mean that in a backwards or derogatory way or anything. There is, like we talked about last episode, there's a balance to all this. And I'm not saying that Kind of Blue is a smooth jazz record, but Kind of Blue is more of a smooth jazz record, closer to a smooth jazz record than the Meters. Let's put it that way. Or for instance, like the John Coltrane Quartet, like
Yeah.
we were talking about.
Yeah.
And it's not about great, better, whatever. It's just situational kind of music, right?
So who else do you got, as sort of your prototype?
Okay, so getting into like less controversial, but what I think is the sort of great and the pinnacle of smooth jazz that no one would argue, and I think is some of the greatest, along with like Breeze and George Benson, would be Grover Washington Jr. Pretty much anything that he did.
That, to me, also is...
Mr. Magic
this
is the
track,
most
yeah,
popular.
Exactly. This track.
I knew you were going to pull that up.
Yeah. Also, if you want to play a smooth jazz gig, this is you gotta know
or a
this
wedding
one.
from a certain era. And this is, I mean, they didn't, Grover didn't invent this, but he codified it with this. You got the Crusaders, of course, Joe Sample, Benson, And this is getting into, okay, it's about the groove. It's instrumental pop music from that day, maybe, But very interesting and beautiful and easy to hug harmonies. There's a lot of harmonic movement, but it's easy to hug, Altered sound, but it's not a harsh altered. Voicings, but nothing too crazy. But Grover, great sound, intonation, beautiful phrasing. Tight drums, come on. What year is this?
Mid-70s.
Yeah, I was gonna say 75.
This seems to be when it really starts coming together, the 75, 76.
Yeah. And so the thing with this track, and really just Grover in general, because he was so... Yeah, I'm just thinking, okay, so he's so influential that is a little bit of a bad rap, because I think you have a lot of later on saxophonists that came along that really smoothed it out. Certainly you can hear the influences of Grover, but it's a little cornier, it's a little less interesting. Like this whole, stands up to the test of time, I would say.
I would agree.
I love this just as much as I remember when I don't really remember when this record came out, but I remember hearing it certainly in the late 70s and ever since.
What about keys players? What do you know about this?
What? Oh, was that Grusin? No. Oh, Sample?
Joe Sample,
yeah, of course.
It's Carmel.
Yeah.
Isn't that great?
Joe Sample, I think, again, so influential to some cornier, smoother jazz stuff.
Joe Sample,
but his
amazing.
stuff stayed.
The most popular track here is Greener Grass from Voices in the Rain, 1981.
Oh, that's my jam.
But
Bob James, Joe Sample, Dave Grusin a little bit later.
You mentioned Dave Grusin.
Yeah.
He's another one.
And I mean, I think for Sample, he was such an imaginative pianist, keyboardist.
Power Wave. Producer Caleb's calling for Power Wave.
I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna give you another hot take in a second.
Also, shout out to GRP Records. Remember GRP?
Yeah.
Grusin's record company?
Yeah, of course. Kenny Kirkland's only record was on that.
You know what especially in this era, mid-70s through probably mid-80s, they were just, the smooth jazz or the smoother jazz artists were just crushing melodically here.
Right.
The melodies are so singable.
Yeah. Little funky vibe.
Little Dave Grusin.
Yeah. And I think this kind of sound, not necessarily just Dave Grusin, but kind of what it's getting into the sound, I think did certainly influence and kind of lead to some other smooth jazz areas that really got into more with singers or without in kind of the 80s. You talk about like Anita Baker, Sweet Love, that whole sound. I would call that
Sade.
That's really smooth jazz in a lot of ways. It like you take away the vocals, it's definitely smooth jazz, you know. And really stuff that I like.
Let's give a little St. Louis love here to our very own David Sanborn.
David, okay,
you've done some playing with Sanborn.
Yeah, I mean,
our own Bob DeBoo is played with him last weekend.
Yeah.
Maputo.
Maputo, of course. Yeah, this is very. I mean,
this is Bob James and David Sanborn.
Right, and Marcus Miller.
Yeah.
Like, we can't leave him out because he's sort of the behind the scenes and in front of the scenes, especially with Sanborn.
Marcus Miller, so influential during his time.
Yeah, of the sound, And that bridge between, Luther Vandross and all the stuff he did with his uncle Luther Vandross is that connection, I think, same thing with...
Wait. Marcus Miller's uncle's Luther Vandross?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, uncle, I think. Or cousin, maybe.
I had no idea.
Yeah. I was like, it was his first gig. Yeah, this is getting more smooth jazz than this.
What's not to like, though?
I know. You could share... What was that movie around this time? It might have even been from this. With Michelle Pfeiffer and, like, Ken Russell or Kurt Russell or whatever. Put yourself back in the 1980s.
But you gotta, I think Sanborn's sound also insanely influential.
Yeah.
A lot of Sanborn clones.
Absolutely. And so, yeah. And I think his clones, it's kind of been harder than, I don't know, something about Grover's. I mean, both of them have kind of been bastardized at different times.
For sure.
But I would say, like, Sanborn, because early on, like, he had that sound over kind of stuff that I wouldn't necessarily say is smooth jazz, like Tuesday Heartbreak with Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
Sanborn's tone and sound is exactly the same.
Yeah.
But that doesn't really, for some reason, Stevie, I don't know. Would you say that is smooth jazz?
Well, let's listen to, that's the thing.
Funk, fusion. Yeah, I guess there's a little bit of
I think you can hear Stevie Wonder's influence on pretty much every genre past.
Oh, for sure. But I'm saying, are there any tracks of Stevie that would jump out to you as being smooth jazz?
So is this Sanborn on Tuesday Heartbreak?
Tuesday Heartbreak, exactly.
So this is from 1972's Talking Book.
Yeah.
One of the greatest albums of all time. Oh, he put the chorus effect on it, though, right?
I don't think,
Tuesday Heartbreak.
Yeah, that is.
Seem to be
that clap, man, this mix is incredible.
'Cause you say that you find
Sanborn had to be,
he was young,
28 or something?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Tuesday break home. Guess you just don't care. 'Cause you found.
Yeah, you can argue that Stevie Wonder's whole early collection is also hugely influential on smooth jazz.
Yeah, but is it like the?
No, it's not.
Like, I almost feel like Kind of Blue. This is gonna be a controversial hot take.
Hot take, folks. We have a hot take graphic.
We got a TikTok pull out. What's going on? No, but like, to me, Kind of Blue and Bossa Nova is more smooth jazz than Stevie.
I agree.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
Because Stevie's stuff, as much as like Grover or Sanborn, I don't know. Stevie's thing is just so particular.
Well, what about something like My Sharia Moore or Isn't She Lovely?
Yeah,
it's too earthy. That's the thing. It's
R&B. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I do think that
that's what I'm saying. Labels are stupid.
They are stupid. But the stuff that we can all agree is smooth jazz. And look, we're being positive here. You notice we haven't mentioned the smooth jazz we don't like. Would you like to wade into those waters, sir?
Well, there's a ton.
Well, yeah, we don't need to do that. But the stuff that everybody would agree, not talking about Kind of Blue and Stevie Wonder.
There's a ton of every genre I don't
exactly.
like. Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to shine a light on. Grover Washington Jr., George Benson's, the OGs, the undisputable OGs. Saying Kind of Blue, that might be controversial.
If you haven't spent a lot of time with George Benson's music, do yourself a favor. Spend some quality hours with GB.
And I'm glad you brought up Dave Grusin, because I don't think about him enough.
Grusin
Such
too.
a great player. And like the soundtrack to the movie called The Firm, the Tom Cruise movie. He has a great soundtrack. That's kind of bluesy smooth jazz, I would call that.
Bluesy smooth.
Well, because he's
smoothie.
It's kind of Memphis-y, but I wouldn't call that a blues record at all.
The Firm
but it's got
soundtrack.
That's got some great, and it's like a lot of overdubs he did on the disc club here.
That sounds a little bit like Peter Martin.
It is. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? It's bluesy. It's blues adjacent. And this is layered, several things that he's doing. Smooth jazz solo piano? I don't know.
Wasn't this partly in New Orleans, wasn't it?
Film. Memphis.
Yeah.
A lot of Joe Sample influence for sure.
I just
like
watched
direct
this.
Joe Sample stuff.
I watched this movie a few months ago. It's
a great
good.
piano.
Yeah.
It's one of the best. Like, I think it's only piano or mostly solo piano. But apparently, the way he recorded this, like he Like he did that, and then he added all the stuff on top,
Sweet.
which is a good way of getting
All
around.
right. Well, Peter,
Smooth jazz lives.
super, super fun. Well, should we go out on some Kenny G?
You'll hear it.